I'm going to try something new here. I don't know if it's going to work. This may be a complete dumpster fire of a show, but we're going to do it anyways. Because what we're talking about is buying in Oregon, and more specifically, don't do it until you at least know about and check on these 3 things, because it's really important in Oregon. And that's what we're going to be talking about on the Furlo Capital Real Estate Podcast, where we dive into the intricacies of passive real estate investing in Oregon. And our mission is to equip Oregon investors to invest wisely in both property and people so that together we can build wealth while improving housing. I'm James, and this is my wife, who lives in Oregon. Jesse.
I'm Oregon transplant.
Oregon transplant?
Yeah.
Are we Oregonians? What's the rule for...
I think, well, okay, as far as I'm
like
concerned, if you
are.
were born in that state,
Yeah,
then you
obviously.
are that.
Okay.
But like, I
But
don't
that's
think
it?
you, I don't think you
I don't know
transfer
if I believe
because
that.
you've been there for a long time.
I don't think so.
You're still called a transplant, in my
It's
opinion.
not just when you get an Oregon driver's license, you're now an Oregonian.
I don't know. Some people have different rules.
I know, I'm trying to figure
I
out.
will always be a Coloradan.
Wow.
And
So I'm always a Californian.
yeah.
Okay.
And then we moved to Oregon.
Can I be dual? Can I be both?
Dual citizenship.
Can I be both an Oregonian and a Californian? Oh,
I
I think everyone just listening just rolled their eyes at me. Like, ugh, pick a side, pick a team. All right, cool. Well,
Whatever.
that's what we're going to be talking about. Is
One of them has to be like something with water. Rain, flooding, water. Oregon's wet.
oh,
Check.
you're talking about
I'm talking the
I
checklist
was
thing.
like, I thought we were talking about citizenship.
Oh.
You have to be okay with
You
water.
have to be okay with water
I'm
if you want
following.
to be an Oregonian.
Topic at hand.
I
Way to
will
keep that-
never
Way
be,
to keep us on
be an
topic.
Oregonian.
I was not ready for that.
Yeah, no.
Oh, man, I appreciate
checklist.
that. All right, yeah. So I have no idea. I think I just turned off my screen to record. So that's exciting.
The slides are still up there.
Yeah, because I just turned them back on, but I'm pretty sure it's no longer recording that particular thing because I tried pinching.
Oops.
Dumpster fire on track. Here we go. The other really cool part is I cannot read any of this text. It is so small. I mean, we often joke about like, yeah, we're getting a little older, but like that is very small.
It's like black on gray also.
All right, so here's why we care about this, why you would even put up with investing in Oregon at all, right?
Yeah.
I think that there's still a lot of demand for it. And so I think that's just because of the fact, like ideally you want to invest where supply is less than demand. And that's the case in Oregon. So that is really appealing. And it's just also important to know, I think that's, at the end of the day, that's why it's interesting. And real estate prices continue to go up pretty dramatically, just like all the places on the coast. And so that alone makes Oregon an interesting place. But like
What are some examples of states that demand, it's flipped? Like you wouldn't want to invest there because the housing market's saturated and there's not a big demand for...
Yeah, that's one of the issues that's happening right now in places like Texas and Florida.
because everybody's moving
there
out?
was a lot of
or-
demand. No, there was a ton of building that happened.
Oh, they've
Yeah.
caught up.
Yep. Mhm.
Interesting.
So they're watching prices actually go down and stuff. And so, yeah, Arizona's kind of going through that a little bit. Pretty much all the markets that were super hot a year or two ago, they've all quote cooled off dramatically because they go through these big fluctuations.
That makes
Oregon's
sense.
pretty steady Eddie, mostly because we have building codes that are written in such a way where there's not going to be a boom in building,
Oh,
and so
it's slow
just won't
progress.
happen.
So
Yeah.
demand continues to be high.
All right. So the first problem, and I bet you can guess this one, has to do with regulations. Oregon is definitely a tenant-friendly state.
Yep.
And it's pretty bad in terms of what they allow. And this is so tiny, I cannot read it at all. There we go. That's slightly better. Yeah. So like, for example, they have rent control. So you can't increase prices more than 3% plus CPI, but they cap it at 10%. So we've actually been capped at 10% the last few years. Next year is going to be different. It's actually at 9.5%.
Oh,
So we're actually within the normal range again, which is really nice. There are also really big eviction challenges related to it. It's just not easy evicting a tenant here. I've had multiple situations. So I was recently in eviction court, and they ask all sorts of questions, right? They check your paperwork. They really want to make sure that it's filled out correctly. They want to know, did you verify that the person still lives there? Like earlier today, did you verify? Like saying like, oh yeah, 3 days ago. Like, no, it doesn't.
Wow.
that's like they might have been out. Or even saying yesterday, they're like, well, maybe. Which having a photo and be like, here's what it looked like yesterday, because you can just see all the stuff. They're like, oh, okay. Yeah. But yeah, they'll ask, like, have you tried to work out? Like, they're just very, like, which I get. Like, they're protecting the tenants. They live there. I get it. But it's definitely a thing. There were even times during COVID where, like, Oregon put in moratoriums where you couldn't evict people, just period. They continue to lock down restrictions. Like, the latest one, I think, is it's a mother, if it's a single mom with a kid under, oh gosh, what is that? Like 3 years old. Like, they're protected from eviction.
Yeah. Just because.
Because, that'd be hard.
I mean, it would be hard. It would be hard for anybody.
Yes.
For sure.
And they definitely have different city by city enforcements. Like Eugene and Portland are even more restrictive than everywhere else.
Interesting.
And so you just gotta be on top of that.
Yeah.
You gotta pay attention to it. Ideally, you hire a property manager like myself,
Who's on
who
top
does
of it.
keep on all of that to then worry about it. That's one of those. Unless you're really willing to dive into it, if you're going to invest in Oregon, like, nah, just have someone else do it. It's just not worth putting up with it anymore. Let's see here. Okay, number 2 thing that you want to check in on before you invest in Oregon is just the operating costs for it. Taxes are a thing in Oregon. So they don't have sales taxes.
Right.
Yay, but we do have property taxes. And they're not the highest I've ever seen in the country, but like
They're higher than
they're
other
a thing,
places.
and they regularly adjust. Like, for example, in California, they're locked at, I don't remember, it's like 1% of the sale price, and then there's a small increase every single year. And so you actually have an incentive to figure out a way not to sell the property in Oregon or in California. So you could have 2 neighbors who live next to each other who have very similar houses, and one of them could be, I kid you not, paying 1/10 in property taxes.
Wow.
Versus the other one.
So weird.
Yeah, just because they lived there for 30 years.
Sure.
And it hasn't
That's
increased.
Just, yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was doing an internship in California at one point, and like there was this guy who was just like, he was personally upset about it because he had recently bought a house and he looked at what his neighbor was paying. I'm like, dude, like,
yeah, can't
who
compare.
cares? Like, it's not like you didn't know the game
Yeah.
when you decided to get into it.
Yeah.
But he was like, we gotta change the rule. I'm like, yeah, no. Oregon changed the rule. Like, it's not. It all adjusts up some amount. It's usually, my observation has been, it's somewhere in that like 2 to 4% range every year. And if you make significant changes, they reevaluate. Like, that's the thing. And so you just got to be aware of that on the property tax front. Insurance premiums continue to go up. It's just a thing, which I guess these are, that one's true for everywhere for sure. Utility costs. Interestingly, in Oregon, we're going through the ratio utility billing system trend right now.
What is that?
So if you have a multifamily that has a shared utility, there's mathematical ways to split up the utilities and charge it back to those tenants.
Okay.
And historically, that never happened in Oregon. Like, it just wasn't a thing. And now it is becoming a thing.
Oh.
And so it's kind of like a one-time goose that you get to everything. And then once it's done, you're like, all right, like that value's been extracted. Cool. And so that's actually what I've been going through and doing for a bunch of properties for it. But that's the transition that Oregon is making. And then there are certain places, not true in Corvallis, but in places like Bend, where there's licensing fees and rental inspection fees and stuff like that. You just got to be aware of them. So just pay attention to some of those, not hidden costs, but just those extra operating costs when you are buying in Oregon. Let me make sure I got everything. I did. Cool. All right. Number 3 that you got to be aware of is market liquidity and exit options in Oregon. So there's just, depending on where you buy in Oregon, there's some big places. Think Corvallis, a lot of them on the I-5, right? They're bigger metros. But man, you get like 10 minutes off of I-5 and like you think like a Sweet Home, or if you go out on 84, like a Baker City, like they're just small and there's not a lot of liquidity out there. You may have a project where you're like, oh, this is a fantastic deal. So awesome. You go in, make the improvements, put it on the market, and it's going to sit
Nobody will buy
forever because it just doesn't have enough people rotating through who want to buy. So you just got to be really aware. And there's some sweet spots like Albany, I would say is like, it's on I-5. So it has a lot of that turn. Lebanon, maybe Lebanon's like that one where it's like, it's right in the in-between because it's 10 minutes off I-5. It's not too far away. So it's slower. It's not quite as hot. So you do get better deals, but you also got to be patient with those deals. And we had that We did a flip earlier this year. And that was the case. It took longer to sell than we thought it would.
Was that in Lebanon?
Yeah, it was in Lebanon, just because it's like a tweener. It ultimately
Kinda
sold for what we
off the
thought it
beaten
would.
path a little bit.
But yeah, it was just, so you just got to be aware of where you're buying.
Interesting.
You also got to be aware of what I would call like institutional avoidance. So one of the big strategies with storage facilities is you buy a smaller one that has some land attached to it, and then you build more units. Okay. And the goal is to get to a minimum of 300 units, ideally like 500 or more.
That's huge.
Because once you hit those number of units, institutional buyers become interested in it.
Oh, okay.
Because
It's
like,
a tipping point.
Because they want a big one.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. Like they just want the cash flow for their investors. So you might buy it, smaller one at like say a 9 cap, which is a great deal. Awesome cash flow. You love it. You spend the money to build the other one, and you can sell it to an institutional company at like a 5 cap. And so they're willing to pay a whole lot more for the revenue. And so you just created this huge wedge of value. Like that is a classic strategy that a lot of storage investors do.
And that's like the infrastructure to put in more storage units is pretty low cost. Is that the idea?
Yeah. Cinder blocks, some doors,
Sure.
no utilities, maybe some lights,
Not
maybe
fancy.
a fence, some relative to say other. No, it's definitely. Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people, they talk about like, oh, I want to buy storage because it's so easy to operate. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not where the money's made.
Yeah.
The money is actually
If you
made in
grow
this
it.
strategy. You buy one that an institution is not interested in, turn it into one that they are interested in.
So why aren't we putting more storage units on our
I
storage
don't have any
place?
land to do that. Otherwise, I would.
I mean,
I have thought about, so between ours, there's a plot of land in
Right.
between it. I've thought like, what would it look like to buy that, bulldoze all that down, and put in just a big, world-class, whatever, storage facility. But it's not for sale, and
maybe not right now.
But I mean, that's the actual strategy that like true like storage investors do. It's not just about, I want to buy something that's easy cash flow.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, but
Yeah, there's a value out there.
yep. Yeah. So yeah, but the problem with Oregon is that there are just enough rules and policies in place that institutional investors are less excited about Oregon. There's a lot of other places. So you just
Kind of makes sense.
So if you're going for that kind of strategy where it's going to depend on an institutional investor, or if you're doing like, hey, we're gonna get involved in a syndication where the idea is we're gonna take it from a fixer-upper and then we're gonna make it better, increase the rates, and then we're gonna get some sort of agency financing debt. You just really want to make sure before you get into it that they're going to be interested in this project, because they may not be. That was actually one of the struggles I had with Baker Tower. Was, believe it or not, from an agency debt standpoint, it's a small project because it was only $1 million loan, and they were like, it's kind of in a small place,
Interesting.
so they were less excited about it.
Yeah.
So I had to look for a local lender to pull it off. So yeah, that's just one of those like just gotta be aware of it types of things.
Yeah.
So when you're also thinking about that exit strategy, the question you got to ask is, who's going to be my buyer in 5 years? And if you can answer that question confidently and conservatively, then you're good. But you just got to pay attention to it. Even if you're like, I'm going to hold on to this thing forever, it's a 30-year investment. Yeah, okay.
You want to have options.
Who are your kids
Just
going to
in
sell
case.
this thing to
Sure.
in 30 years? You just want to be able to answer that question, I think, is what's important. So here's some things you can do when you're thinking about investing in Oregon or investing with someone like myself who's investing in Oregon, making sure that they are doing these types of things, like that they're talking to the city hall office just about licensing, inspections, and enforcement timelines. And which that's oftentimes, call the city. At the very least, I'm trying to verify how many units do you guys think is here?
How is this
What other
recorded on your
issues
end?
are going on? It's less important if you're just doing a buy and hold, but if you're doing any sort of work, you definitely want to know how all that works. Like we were doing a lot split, and it was super easy. It was like, oh, there's a process here we need to know about. You also want to just make sure that you get your expenses as close to accurate as possible. Thankfully, Oregon has all of its stuff online, and so it's pretty easy to get all the expenses, which is nice. There are some states where it's like, no, sorry, like walk into the office, or you make a request for the information and they will mail it to you.
What in the world?
Yeah, Delaware, looking at you.
Wow.
And yeah,
It's like Luddites.
it's a pain. is what it is. Someone's making money off of that system. That's what's happening. It's a real pain. And then you just really want to make sure you test the resale liquidity, right? If no one else, like, man, this is a great deal because no one else is going for it. Like, that may be a red flag.
No one else may go for it in the future.
That's why I like the off-market deals, because then I am the only one, but it's not necessarily because it's a bad deal.
Sure.
So again, Oregon, obviously, it can be fantastic. I think it's been fantastic for us.
Yeah.
You just really want to make sure that you're buying intelligently, or that you are teaming up with somebody who understands Oregon and all the nuances, which, shocker, if you're looking for someone who could be that person for you, you should check us out at furlo.com. That's our website where you can see our investment thesis and everything that we are about and what we do. We also offer property management in case you already own the asset. Now you're looking for someone to just make sure that it's run efficiently and well. We can also help out with that part. So the question, dear listener, for you is, how confident are you that a deal that you might be eyeing would still pencil out after looking at these 3 filters? So for the last deal that you looked at, that's what I would like, just walk through. Yeah, what did those 3 things look like for me? And if it's a good deal, awesome, cool, you go for it. And if you would like to partner with us, again, check us out. And I'd love to have a conversation with you and learn more about your goals and what you're going for.
There you go.
So with that, thanks for listening. Have a great day.